Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the life setup guide. And this is something that's definitely different, definitely something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a long time, and now we're finally getting into it. So once again, I appreciate you guys for being on the Patreon. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the full life setup guide. And by the way, this is something that I wish I had, 5-6 years ago whenever I was in a transitional and developmental state in my life from college to where I'm at now. So who is this for? This is for men ages 24 plus primarily. Listen, if you're younger, you can definitely aspire to be within this life setup sort of zone. However, most guys 24 plus are usually out of college, are usually about to be established within their careers, and they have a little bit more leverage. If you're 19, 20, 21 years old, you're probably in school, probably don't make a lot of money. And for that reason, once again, you can aspire to work towards this. Also, you feel like you're not progressing in your life. So maybe you are 24 plus and you just feel like your life is a little bit stagnant. Your day-to-day routines are kind of monotonous and boring. Maybe you've lived in the same place your whole entire life and you see no progression. And also those who are wanting a better social life, women, and just overall life satisfaction. The importance of life setup will literally dictate almost every aspect of your life. That's why this is so important. All right, first, let's talk about income. You guys must be making at least 70 to 100K post-tax. So that's gonna be around 5.5 to 8K a month. These numbers can be adjustable depending on what city you live in, how big of a metro city you live in, or what inflation principles or standards are within your area. But for the most part, 70 to 100K post-tax as a single guy, not married, not with kids, is usually something that you can live on fairly well. And I like to give the example of myself is my life setup costs about 6.5 to 7K a month. I do whatever I want. I live by myself in a 2-bedroom, and all these things I'm about to tell you on around 6.5 to 7K a month. So you really don't need that much to have a good lifestyle is what I'm trying to say. I know overall people aspire to, hit 10, 15K, 20K months. And as you should, you definitely should make more money because that's going to give you more leverage to do the things you want and get the nicer things. However, at minimum, this should be what everybody aspires and attains to get. All right, and this allows you to live not too far from the city. Exceptions are big metro areas. So like if you're living in Brickell, Miami, a 1-bedroom apartment is going to cost you like 4.5 to 6K alone, maybe 3.5 on the low end. But overall, if you have this income, you can live not too far from the city center. Also, big tip here, guys, and this is overall a lifestyle tip, is to live below your means. What this really means is living below your income level. You make, let's say, 6K a month post-tax, but you live on 4.5. That's why the more we make, the better. Obviously, if you're making 6K a month, your expenses don't need to be 5.5 to 6K a month because that means you're not saving anything. And if you're not saving anything, you're not investing anything. All right. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but up next, you need to leverage and build credit. This is a big one. One, you need to build your credit score. So if you ever want to buy a house or basically get any sort of loan, whether it be for a car, house, whatever it may be, they're going to look at your credit score. And if your credit score sucks, if you got evictions, if you're just overall bad at paying people back, or you have no history of paying people back, good luck with getting that loan. You're gonna have to cash out everything, which we don't wanna do. We wanna leverage other people's money, and we do that by the use of credit. So me, myself, I use credit cards to pay for everything within my personal life and my business life. I use the Chase Sapphire Preferred for my personal. This has great sign-up bonuses, great rewards. And then also I use the business version of this, which is the Business Inc. Unlimited. And over time, I've accrued so many points. I can go on free trips. I can get cash back if I want. My credit score has gone up. Just a win-win. Just do not use cash and do not use debit. Also, the more disposable income you have, the more you can put towards investments. And investments is going to multiply your income so that in the future, you can do more of the things that you want. So another example, let's say I made 8K a month post-taxes. I would try to live on 5K a month overall, or maybe 5 to 6K a month. And then I would take at least 1,000, maybe 1,500 to put towards investments, whether it be, 401k, IRA, a brokerage, crypto. I can make a whole video on this, but I just moved 50% of my net worth into Bitcoin. Literally, I just moved 50% of my net worth into Bitcoin, guys. I am not playing about Bitcoin, but overall, just make more money. The more money you make, the easier all this stuff is going to get. And then also with this sort of income level, you can enjoy weekly experiences and date with modesty without stress, which is what we want. We don't want stress. Most of the problems in people's life is usually an income problem. It's usually a money problem. All right, now let's talk about the city. Where should you live? This is super, super important. Population, 300K minimum, guys, minimum. Listen, you're not gonna go anywhere in a small city, a small town. And I know because I grew up in small towns most of my life. My college, I went to a school in Valdosta, Georgia. Very small town. They decided to put a college in there for some reason. And for that reason, just my growth was all just overall very, very slow. Now, keep in mind, I was ambitious, so I was able to grow $1 million business whenever I was in that time frame through fitness and build my YouTube channels with no outside help, no collaborations or nothing. However, it just makes it that much more difficult to do so. And if I was in a better city, if I went to a college in at least like a bigger city to some degree, I just would have had better experiences. Through that, I could have met people, network better. So overall, the city you pick is important. The reason why I say this inflates every year is because a 300K minimum population today might be small in the next 2-3 years. People are moving to cities more and more every year. So if we look at some of these population stats, this is from 2022. I'm sure if you look at New York now, it might be 10 million. And in Miami, this was 2022. I guarantee you now, this is over 550,000. So cities are always evolving. More people are usually coming more and more every single year, but population 300K minimum. If you're living in a small town that you grew up your whole entire life, you need to figure out some way to move. It's better to be a small fish in a big pond than a big fish in a small pond. And this is something where I kind of screwed up at personally. So I moved to Orlando after college, which was in 2019. And that was because I was at the time a little too afraid to move to Miami as my first apartment by myself, living by myself, no family around. I wanted to come somewhere where I kind of knew people. I've had some experience with the location, the cost of living was fair and not like too crazy. And so throughout time, I found myself being a big fish within a small pond, meaning that my circle, my network, my friends, even creators I meet, it seems to be that I'm doing better than everybody. And I know that sounds very conceited and arrogant to say, but it's the truth, bro. There's no other way to put it. Every circle I'm in, I'm always the one where people asking advice towards. How do you do this? How do you run your business like this? How do you create content like this? Maybe I'm just that competent, I don't know. But I never found myself asking other people questions. And I feel like it's because I'm a big fish in a small pond. Or I just haven't found the people. But I don't believe people of a certain caliber are in certain cities. And if they are, they're hidden really well. They're in some lake somewhere hiding. For example, if I was to move to Miami, I would then be a small fish in a big pond. I'll be around people who are doing better than me. I will have a network of friends who are making 10 times as much as me. I will be learning from other people. So if I had to say one thing that I potentially regret doing, which, it's never too late. I can always still move to Miami, but my infrastructure and setup is so deep in Orlando right now, it makes it harder and harder to move, which some of you guys probably experience too with your hometowns, but overall, just keep this in mind. The city also has to have values that align to your beliefs and income. Beliefs meaning like, are you a liberal? Are you conservative? Do you want somewhere where, they have more of a hipster sort of vibe, right? Then also your income. If you're an entrepreneur making 50K a year, you probably don't want to move to New York. If you have a job in the corporate world, or maybe you're a blue collar work and you know that they get paid a lot less in Los Angeles versus Chicago, then you might want to go to Chicago. So you got to keep all these things in mind in terms of your income and your cost of living, which that's also a reason why I decided to not move to Miami, but to either stay in Orlando or maybe even Tampa in the future, is because as an entrepreneur, you want your money to go as long and as far as possible. Somebody who's making 20K a month post-tax in Miami living in Brickell has the lifestyle of somebody in Orlando making 10K post-tax. That's why guys move to Colombia. That's why guys move to Thailand, because they know they can stretch their dollar a lot further. All right, so if you have kids, then ideally, I believe you want family to be around to some degree. If I was to have kids in the future, I probably wouldn't want to be in a city to where there's absolutely no family around and I'm just outsourcing kids to like daycare or like just with your girl or something, or at least have your girl's family around. To some degree, I believe that family structure really helps in raising a kid, especially in the early stages. If single, women, obviously guys, if single, you need to be going somewhere to where there's hot women. And usually hot women are in big metro areas. Then also, if you're a minority, then ideally you want it to be a little bit diverse. So as a black man, I am not moving to a city to where the population is like 2% black. They got rednecks everywhere. They got lifted trucks. They got the Dixie flags. Like, no, I already experienced that. A big part of my childhood, I grew up in Alabama, and then my high school, I was in the outskirts of Jacksonville, Florida, into a small redneck town called Yulee, Florida. So I saw this all the time. I was the only black person in most of my high school classes, and I absolutely hated it. You know, so if you're a minority, we need some diversity. If you're enjoying this content, you're gonna be mind blown by my Patreon. As a supporter, you'll get access to now over 100 videos of in-depth dating insights, valuable self-improvement tips, and juicy uncut content you won't find anywhere else. And no, you won't break the bank. You're gonna get access to everything for the literal price of a sandwich. This is a great way to support me and my work so that I can keep creating high quality content for you. I'm engaging with my Patreon community and posting new videos every single week. So if you want more value and exclusive access, head over to my Patreon page. I'll leave a link down below. Now, back to the video. All right, let's talk about your network. Very important. Need to meet with a like-minded group or person once a week, bi-weekly, or to at least once a month. Whatever's a good time frame for you, whether it be going to the gym together or maybe a few times a week or whatever it may be. I know some people are introverts, some people are really busy with work, some people don't just really communicate and stick to themselves, but you need to have a support group or just a friend or somebody who you see on a consistent basis. Me, for example, I have a high school friend that I work out with every single Saturday without fail. We do a workout together. Then we go eat, we might go to the mall, whatever. It's every Saturday we work out together. And before that, you know, I'll meet up with friends or like a network once a month or bi-weekly. And the important part is to make sure that their goals and values align with yours. This is the like-minded section. Ideally, you want them to be better than you in these aspects so that you learn and mastermind and learn from each other. And this goes back to being a big fish in a small pond. That's what we don't want. Also, you need to form social groups based upon your place of interest and or hobbies. That's why it's so important to have hobbies. You know, I have a social group now at my boxing gym. I know a few people I can call up. You know, we haven't hung out outside the boxing gym yet. We could, you know, I just haven't made it that step. But point is, I go in the boxing gym, I'm just like, yo, what's up? You know, I got social groups around that hobby. Also, place of interest for most of you guys is going to be the gym, or it's going to be even your work. Though be careful, especially with women at your place of interest. Anywhere you frequent a lot. And if you work from home, more than likely it's going to be the gym. It's going to be the gym. It might be a certain restaurant. It might be, you know, different hobbies you experience or go to, whatever it may be. Also, if you want to have the best social life, you have to become the organizer, meaning that you don't wait for people to organize events and reach out to you. You're the one who brings people together. You're the one who schedules, organizes, manages, like you set things up. And if you're not the organizer, then your social life and group is probably going to be trash. Friendships and romantic relationships, there's a lot of similarities, meaning that you must go on bro dates, whether it be in a group or with a single person. Like as a friend, you guys must hang out, you guys must do things together. The only difference is that you're obviously not sexually attracted to them. You could also search city mastermind group meetup, like on Google. So for example, Miami mastermind group meetup or Miami mastermind group on Google, and you'll probably find some things. Or just use meetup.com, a good site to form social groups based upon points of interest and or hobbies. Now let's talk about housing and environment. You must live alone or to lease a spacious 2-bedroom with a roommate who is never there. This is ideal, guys. Sure, you can have a 2-bedroom with a roommate who is always there, but as a bachelor single living in the city, it's going to make it very hard for you to move and do certain things. Maybe you want to bring a girl over, you gotta tell your roommate, like, listen, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've done that before and it's not fun. That's why it's just easier to live alone. But if you need to cut down on costs, I do understand that it might be easier to get a roommate. However, I wouldn't have multiple roommates. To the least, I'll have at least just one. Also, try to live in a walkable area to where there's walkable bars, grocery stores, and restaurants. This is like a non-negotiable for me, Before my place now, I was living in gated communities to where you gotta like commute and drive everywhere. Like to go to Publix or the grocery store, I had to drive like 6-7 minutes, and I kind of live on the outskirts or whatever. But my place I've been living at now for the past 2 years, you know, I can walk to the grocery store literally in 30 seconds. I could walk to CVS. I can walk to like 4 or 5 different bars and restaurants. I got a lake. So ideally, you want to live in a walkable area, and these areas are more than likely going to be more expensive too for the accessibility. So that's why everything comes back down to income. If you can make more money, you're going to have more access. Balcony with a view. If you're searching for an apartment, bro, get a balcony with a view. At least a balcony. It needs a balcony, and most luxury places always have a balcony, so that's not like a big deal, but just try to get balcony. Optional, be near nightlife, waterfront or lakes, or attached garages. So nightlife, this is more so if you're young, if you want more access to like, you know, clubs or definitely nightlife sort of bars that you could walk to, that might be in your benefit. Waterfront and lakes. Me personally, this is a non-negotiable for me. I want to be by water. And so for that reason, I only pick places to where at least there's some sort of lake near the property. And then if you have a nice car, you do want a garage. So the reason why I right now still drive my Camaro that I had since 2017 is because where I live at now, everybody parks in a conjugated area outside. So since I don't have a garage, I'm not investing in a nice car personally right now. Also, you want to be in or very close to the city, which we discussed. Gym, 15-minute drive or less minimum, or work 30-minute drive. So this is just this commute logistics. You don't want to be driving 40 minutes to the gym every day, you know, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. No, everything needs to be close. And if you're in or close to the city, then this all pretty much works out by itself. All right, so your rent, ideally less than or equal to 30% of your total monthly income, 30% or less. If it's above 30%, then you're pushing the zone of not being able to afford that place. So whatever you make, calculate it, and then 30% or less is where we want that ideal number to be. If you plan to live in a place long term, I'm talking like minimum 10 years, then if you can afford it, it just makes sense to buy it. You know, buy versus rent. If I'll buy my long-term primary, but I'm not doing that till I'm like 35 years old, personally. All right, now let's talk about transportation. Look at that, that's an M3. Sexy, that's something I would get. Actually, I'll get something better. I might get an M8, M8 Grand Coupe. All right, we want a modern, reliable, practical daily driver. Modern, reliable, practical. Those 3 things, guys. Some of the car styles that I personally like and that I tend to work best, especially for us men, are anything from sporty coupes to luxury sport sedans. It could be luxury sedans or sporty sedans or a combination of both, or luxury SUVs or sporty SUVs or luxury sport SUVs. I've been leaning towards the sporty coupes most of my early adult life with the Camaro, and then I got the C8. It just matches fairly well. However, moving forward, I'm thinking about like sport luxury sedan, you know, something like this. But we'll see. I might change my mind. So here are different things you can do. You can do what's called an exotic car hack. And this is essentially going to be your weekend car. You don't want this to be your daily driver. Remember, modern, reliable, practical. We don't want a Lamborghini or Ferrari being our daily driver. So exotic car hacking, this is a whole nother lesson, by the way. But essentially what it is that you buy the car, you get a loan for an exotic car or a really expensive car that has hit its depreciation curve and it holds value. So this is probably going to be like certain car models or maybe 2 to 3 years after its release. With most cars, like the depreciation just constantly drops. But with exotic cars, it drops and then it holds value. So what you can do is buy it once it hits that peak curve of dropping, and then drive it for 2 years on finance and then sell it either for a profit or what you got it for, as long as you maintain it fairly well. If you guys don't know, I bought my C8 cash, my Corvette C8 cash in 2020. In late 2021, I sold it for nearly what I got it for. It was a slight loss, but it was nearly what I got it for. And that's because the C8s were in such high demand that they didn't depreciate whatsoever. You know, especially with mine, I kept it in good shape. I drove like less than 15,000 miles. And so I was able to indirectly car hack my car by practically driving it for free for like almost 2 years. You can do a business lease. So this, my guys with businesses, you can write off the full amount of the lease each month, and that's going to be deducted towards your taxes. You could also do a business finance or buy. Now there's some rules and stipulations with this. There's like a 6,000 pound limit, and this shit is always changing, by the way. I think they literally just changed it in 2024, so it might be different now. But basically this is a section 179 deduction. So that's why a lot of entrepreneurs might get the G-Wagons or get the Rolls Royces or get the Audi Q8s, the Porsches, SUVs, whatever, because it hits that 6,000 pound limit, and they can write off either the full purchase price or a portion of the purchase price or the monthly finance. I might lean more towards a business lease, but we'll see. Or you can just traditionally finance, which most of you guys I probably have done and or doing if you don't buy outright, just cash. And that is, you put down money on a car for a loan, you get the loan, you pay monthly on it for 3-4 years, and then you pay interest on the loan. I got a loan for my Camaro in 2017, but I paid it off in 2019 because I had the money to do so. So I'm like, why? I'm not leveraging debt when it's high interest when I have the ability to, pay off $15,000, is what it is. So these are your options. All right, let's talk about miscellaneous, guys. And the more income, once again, the better it's going to be. 1, international travel 1 to 2 times a year. This is not only good for your experience and just overall cultural experience and learning how the world is and how the world works, but also you can present it. As you see right here, you can leverage social media to amplify all of this stuff. Learning presentation techniques, having a great Instagram account is not only going to make your networking better, your social life better, your dating life better, but it just amplifies everything we talked about today. So if you get international travel and then also capture that at least 1 to 2 times a year, I try to at least international travel at least 1 time a year, then that's gonna be great for you. Domestic travel 1-2 times a year. Listen, you can do both or you can do either or. Whatever fits into your budget. Point is, if you ask yourself, have I traveled at all within the past 12 months? And the answer is no, that is a problem. There are many cheap countries you can go to. Colombia is cheap. I'm going to Panama here in a few weeks. I'm going to Turks and Caicos a few weeks after that, because I try to travel at least a few times a year, guys. And I know that me presenting this is going to amplify my social media, my presence, and all that stuff, and it's just going to make it that much better. All right. So if you do want more help learning how to leverage social media to amplify your presence, alongside with pretty much talking about all the stuff we did today in the best way possible, then definitely be sure to check out Digital Romeo, guys. This is where we talk about personal branding. I give you the tools and the action steps of what you need to do to create a positive personal brand and just learn overall attractive presentation. Then also the dating techniques and nuances with dating apps and navigating that whole sphere. So as usual, I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to book a call. Hopefully we'll talk soon, and hopefully you guys enjoy this presentation. I'm gonna see you guys next week. All right, peace.